Welcome to Backboard Banter on the board with your hosts, Matt Middleton and Kevin Rayner, where the banter's as ferocious as those Boston Celtics fans after Game 7, my friend.
Dude, it
Yikes.
it happened. It got to game 7 and they didn't win. The record we thought was going to be over, that 0 and 150 or whatever, is not to be. Boston fans, man. How do you feel right
In,
now?
sh-
Cuz it hurts.
in shambles, man. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for them, the way that played out. The fact that
Yeah.
Tatum literally gets hurt on the very first offensive possession. Um, I'm not going to say that it would have completely changed the game, but considering that, their 3-0 comeback was literally predicated on having Jason Tatum run more of the offense. It was, we are going to run a 34% usage for Jason Tatum as opposed to the 28% that we were running. Yeah, I'm, I don't know. That's just what the stats tell me.
This is the thing, right? How many star players ankle injuries are taking them out of these playoffs? A certain LeBron, 38 year. Anyways, we won't talk about LeBron this week, but man, crazy for Boston fans. Really unfortunate, obviously, for Tatum and that ankle injury, but here we are,
Yeah.
man. Another week, but crazy to think that the NBA finals start in what, 30 minutes time. We're squeaking this in here last second. Matt, let's talk about
Hey,
these
man.
takes real quick. Cause you were wrong. The Heat, they took it. They took the win, man. They took it right from out under you.
Man, well, yeah, they destroy my takes from weeks ago. And then I was expecting them to at least get me right on game 5. And what do? They let
Nope.
them come all the way back just to be the underdogs again so that they could win. Hey man, Jimmy Bucket needs that kind of pressure. He's the
Yep.
type of guy that wants to snatch your heart out, and that's what he really did to those Boston fans. Not even that he was the best player in that series for them, which is kind of nuts.
Caleb Martin robbed Finals MVP. We'll get to it in a second. First, we have to wash in my filth of coaches just deciding, I don't like Kevin's take. Let's go over here. Let's go over there. Because everybody's seemingly look. We'll start with Nick Nurse going to Philadelphia. Really wasn't expecting this. I think Matt, you said
No.
it best. Like after the Bucks situation happened, he was just kind of like, "Well, what do I do now?" And ended up with Philadelphia. Really interesting situation right there.
Well, I thought he was definitely going to Milwaukee. I thought he was a perfect fit for Giannis. He was the guy who stopped Giannis with Kawhi, Serge, and Gasol, and
Right?
maybe he could get that out of him. And Giannis is the type of player who would thrive in a Nick Nurse system, playing to the wall. And Joel Embiid, good luck getting Joel Embiid and James Harden to run up and down the court like you wanted them to. Good luck getting them to play that system. And after Joel Embiid's comments about Nick Nurse complaining about fouls in our series last year and the history, like I don't know, he could have gone to Phoenix, man.
I mean, that this is apparently what he was weighing at the end was those two options, and it comes down to that professional relationship, right, that he has with Daryl Morey from the past, and at the same time, right, it's an opportunity to coach the current MVP because the reports are that Nurse is excited about that. James Harden's still in that whole is he, is he not, is he leaving, is he staying situation. I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, the Nurse and Philadelphia is a weird combo. Something that I don't think anybody was really expecting, but a good coach with an MVP caliber player and a Tyrese Maxey, because they're not going to get rid of him. Like at that point, you're weighing them versus the Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and as you said, I think I'd rather Phoenix, and that was a weird one for me. So hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, honestly, man, you say that they won't get rid of Tyrese Maxey, but maybe a little Pascal Siakam for Sir Tyrese Maxey, get Scotty and Tyrese together. Man, I'm not opposed to it.
This man's
I would.
dreaming.
How? Siakam's a better player.
I
Siakam's worth more on the open market.
I don't
And
disagree.
if they lose James Harden and they want a second superstar,
True.
why not get a player who has proven to be more than a capable second option scorer and a guy who can augment that team? They're both Cameroonian.
Yep.
He loves
They're
Nick Nurse
boys.
knows him. Morey's known to swing for the fences.
Yeah.
I love that trade, honestly. If I'm a Raptor fan, I take Tyrese Maxey and Scotty Barnes around OG Anunoby as our future. Um, like and get rid
I
of
mean,
Siakam. It hurts, and we like
yeah.
definitely lose in terms of quality of player. And if Philadelphia goes on to win a championship, like that's gonna suck. But I think it's a good move for the franchise.
I mean,
Personally.
you're pulling my heartstrings here because I was very much of the, Kyle Lowry trade for him at the time back in the day, and that didn't end up folding together. So, hey, I didn't even thought about it because I never thought that they would have Tyrese be available. But if he was, yeah, that's a trade I would do in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I honestly, man, I think it's totally possible. And they're talking about Nick Nurse stepping in, kind of like where Toronto was when he took over. You know what the big major difference about that situation is? Is they didn't just trade for a top three player in the NBA. Sorry, Joel Embiid. When it comes to the playoffs, you're not a top three player.
Yeah,
You're not. Like the way if he's gonna crumble to Tatum like that. And I still think Tatum's one of the best players in the world, and I think that he would have had a much bigger impact had he not turned his ankle. You know, Jimmy's ahead of him, Tatum's ahead of him, Nikola Jokic is ahead of him, Giannis is ahead of him,
right.
and like I still would think LeBron's ahead of him, man. The way that LeBron dropped that, last game four, I'm still in the LeBron camp here. So like, I don't think Embiid's the playoff player that you think he is. We traded for a Finals MVP. He's never been out of
Right.
the second round.
That's the thing. Hasn't been proven yet, right? But we're getting off topic here. I love it, but let's roll it back here because we talked about Phoenix here, them missing the coach, but Monty Williams, this man's takes the absolute bag. Detroit Pistons believe so much in this guy. Apparently, he's going to be the solution to their young situation. And I mean, if I'm Monty, like, how do you say no to that? 6 year, 72 million. Cade Cunningham, like this is a good young roster, and when you have Dwayne Casey apparently going up into the front office now, like coach to coach relationship, like this is a nice wrapped present for a guy who just got booted out of a really good situation.
No, man, absolutely. I think that he took the developmental path. I think in Detroit, there's a little bit less pressure because they're a younger team.
Right.
And so if he can, mold this team, good for him. And yeah, he got paid, bro. So at the end of the day, like the contract could be worth over $100 million with incentives.
Yeah.
Um, Unbelievable for him. And yeah, like I'd do it in a heartbeat, wouldn't you?
I mean that's the situation, right? And what a time. We're still over here as the Raptors trying to figure out what our coaching search is going to happen. I think we can roll into Raptors chat here, Matt, because little bit of interesting stuff going on, right? Obviously, the Fred to the Lakers rumors, classic Lakers offseason. They need a point guard to replace their failing one. Who might be available? Well, Fred VanVleet, I guess. No, guys, stop it.
For D'Angelo Russell, no, no, thank you. Like they're not even comparable pieces. Like, and you can't offer us picks. Like, no, 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 no. I do not want D'Angelo Russell.
Mm-mm.
So like it's always this time of year when the NBA media, sees us as the team to just pilfer from. I saw this like OG Anunoby going to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole, the 44th pick in last year's draft and the 19th pick in this one.
Ooh.
Or we could get Scoot Henderson with OG Anunoby. I'd rather Scoot Henderson
Seriously.
personally.
And like Lakers, if you wanna do a true sign and trade, you can send us Austin Reeves in a pick. We'll give you Fred, but that's it. That's the only option. And even then it's like, that's maybe not enough, but I mean I'm a big Austin Reeves believer, so that's where I'd take it from. But yeah,
They're gonna
it's
match $100 million contract if he gets off Rashided.
yeah,
I don't think the guy's worth $100 million.
not quite.
So personally, I don't really want Austin Reeves. I don't think they have anything. Like again, like they've got nobody really to offer us, and that's just the way that it is. Man, your dogs are having a good time behind
The two of them are fighting for a bone right now. Violet's
you.
living her best life. I'm home alone with these doggos, so they like to be a part of hanging out. But
Yeah,
yeah, it is what it
absolutely.
is. They're gonna be here for a while, so I guess you gotta get stuck in with them. But And when it comes to the Raptors, do you want to talk about the coaching situation of who's left? Because there's rumors that they're down to a final three, but when it comes to this point, the rumors that also the franchise apparently it doesn't know what direction it wants to go in makes me go, I don't know what I'm hearing or what I want to believe because there's good things, there's bad things. It's like we're in the schmuck right now, just waiting, just waiting.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest issue, and I think that the organization is really trying to figure out what its next move is.
Yeah,
And as you know, there's only two teams left. Those two teams are probably not going to be making that many changes around the edges. But like a team like Boston, right? Like everybody's now talking about trading Jaylen Brown, and
yeah,
not that I think that's a good idea in any way, but like, could Jaylen Brown be had for Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby and the 13th overall pick plus something? Like
yeah,
could we get Jaylen Brown on our team? And like so I'm sure the Bobby Webster and Masai are kind of weighing all of their options at this point. But I do like the names that are kind of out there with the JJ, Steve Nash, and Jordy Fernandez of the Sacramento Kings. I think that they're all good options. None of them are proven like great coaches. Obviously, two have never had head coaching experience, and
yeah.
Steve Nash's one stop wasn't amazing. But I think that like we're looking in a different direction. We're trying to get a different feel, and I think once they've decided where they want to go with the team and the roster,
Yeah.
that'll kind of help them inform their decision on their coach.
Again, we're just waiting, right? At this point, because we don't really know how exactly it's going to work out. We don't know if these trades for these picks are available. And as we've discussed in the past, most likely, if we are going to be trading for three, it might be waiting until actual draft day because of the fact of the matter is we want Scoot. And I think that as much as we don't know what the front office thinks, I think we've figured that out by now, right? I don't think they have as much of an interest in Miller, and the fact that the rumors are that if we trade for four and Scoot isn't there, right? We may even just take Amon or one the other brother. Like that's what I'm
I
hearing.
I
Like
doubt that as well. I
yeah,
doubt that we at three we would take one of those twins, or Brandon Miller. It's too redundant for our
yeah,
team, unfortunately. And like again, if especially if we like, yeah, it just doesn't make sense for our roster and for Scotty Barnes. So, at the end of the day, I would just say unless Scoot Henderson's there, we're probably gonna run it back.
that's it, right? It's pretty much Scooter bust and. I'm not going to be super sad if we run it back. Obviously, we like these guys on this team and we've enjoyed this basketball. But at the same time,
Mediocre.
if Scotty doesn't take a leap and we run it back, then what are we talking about? What are we even
Yeah.
talking about? Seriously, right? Like the opportunity has to be there for the young guys. If we're not going to be bringing back our other draft picks, right? Like what are we talking about here? So yeah, it's definitely the weight game for the Raptors right now. Adrian Griffin's gone. We mentioned it. He's gone to the Bucks. Apparently, Giannis loved him. He beat out Nurse. He beat out everybody else. And hey, that could be amazing, right? Adrian Griffin could be setting himself up for some serious success there as a first-time head coach with a guy like Giannis.
Kind of sucks though that like
Oh
they
yeah,
felt so strongly about him to hire him like that over some really qualified, head coaching candidates that have been out there, and the Raptors kind of just let him go. It kind of makes you wonder, um, if we were kind of too slow moving and
yeah.
probably should have hired Adrian Griffin. But I mean, can't dwell on the past. That's done. So you know, we'll be happy with whatever we have, and it really all hinges on Scotty's development if he can actually take a step. Um, so hopefully he does.
Seriously. And I think that's enough for Raptors. So let's talk about dwelling in the past. Celtics fans, just last week, sitting there going, well, we have nothing to lose. What can we do now? We've won game 4. We maybe can win game 5. And bro, what a roller coaster. Cause they came out in game 5 and like Miami didn't really have it. It was an easy win for Boston at that point. But at the same time, you go into game 6, the battles that happened, the way that it ended, and then
Miami didn't have it then either. Like they
no,
just came back. Like Boston let it slip. Like Boston showed again. They when they're up and they feel confident, they just kind of collapse. It's when their backs are against the wall, and it showed. And that's the only reason that I did think that they might have had a chance to come back in this series when they were
Yeah,
down 2-0 is that back against the wall. But like a big portion of me was saying like, winning four straight games against Jimmy Butler and the Heat is going to be very, very difficult. And yeah, I mean, Joe Mazzulla got thoroughly outcoached in this series, but I think it's a really good learning experience. He'll be back. So I think that it helps them develop. And again, like it's so crazy that they want to break these two guys up who have been to five conference finals in the
yeah,
span of like the 7 years together. And like the first couple ones, like they were puppies, like they were like second year players
yeah.
dunking on LeBron James, like Jason Tatum having that moment in the conference finals. And they pushed them to seven, like that 2018 team. And so you can't just give up on this. Like you can't. And I understand that they're going to be the majority of your roster, but that's the way most rosters are going to be constructed now with the new
Yeah.
CBA is you're going to have only two max guys and everybody else is going to be nip and tuck. And so there's going to be a lot of like, middle class players, quote
Yeah.
unquote, that are going to be missing out on a ton of money because of this new CBA agreement, which like kind of begs the question that they'll probably change it down the road.
I mean, this is an argument for another day because there's some crazy things when it comes to NBA players, salaries, contracts, all that jazz. But the Celtics, man, they are in a world of hurt right now. They have to figure out what they're gonna do. And the really unfortunate thing, in my opinion, is the fact that they probably, do need a true ball handler, a true playmaker. And the Jays just aren't it for either of them, but they're so relative and so important. And the problem is you can't replace Marcus Smart on this team, who is that ball handler, but isn't quite the high level of playmaker that you need in the playoffs. So like they have some tough decisions to make, in my opinion.
But why can't Jason Tatum be that guy? I think Jason Tatum proves that when they task him to be that guy, maybe his playmaking ability isn't as elite as a Nikola Jokic, as a LeBron James, but it's
Mm-hmm.
good enough to be that number one option and that number one play setter. So like that whole narrative, I think is blown out of proportion because they have Jason Tatum. He's
Yep.
a top five player. He was a top four MVP candidate this year. This guy can be that player if he takes a step in his playmaking ability, which, if it doesn't come naturally to him, that's fine.
Yeah.
With more age in the league, he is going to get better at it. Jimmy Butler
Yeah.
was 30 years old by the time that he finally got out of the second round. So I mean, like we're just in an age of impatience, and
And
it is what it is.
to add to that though is Jason Tatum is on that superstar trajectory. He is on that like American face of the league that so much of the media wants. And when you think about the greats of our time, the greats of the players that we've gotten to see, that dog mentality, that takeover mentality involves needing to be a playmaker, needing to be the one with the ball in your hands and do things. And so I completely agree with you. My worry is that the front office doesn't think that way. And I'm trying to think like the way the front office is thinking, not just about the players, but about what they're going to do. And they might not see that adventure. And then it leads to pulling something apart that doesn't need to be, because if you just tweak here and there while keeping that core and building together, you create the culture that like the Miami Heat basically has, right?
Bro, if I'm Brad Stevens, I don't have to look at anybody besides Michael Jordan. And like I get it, comparing Michael Jordan to Jason Tatum might be blasphemy for some people,
Mm-hmm.
but Michael Jordan was a pure scorer for years and years and years. And the only reason people say that he's a good playmaker is because he was willing to give up those shots in
Yeah.
those big playoff moments. Who's to say Jason Tatum's a willing passer. He is. And so at the end of the day, I don't think they need to do anything. I don't think
And
they've hit their ceiling. I think they're only getting better. Truly, you don't hit NBA prime until you're 27, 28.
and
Really, you
and
don't
it's
hit NBA prime.
it's really funny you talk about, giving up the shot for the open and the good look. Boston did that. But they shot what, 23% from the corner? They didn't go down. The shots just did
Look,
not go
man,
down, right?
the Golden State Warriors have wrecked NBA basketball ideology at this point
Yeah, yeah.
for other teams. look, you guys don't have historically amazing knockdown shooters. Do you know what you do have? You have a bunch of scorers. Marcus Smart,
Yeah.
he is not really a shooter, he's more of a scorer. Jaylen Brown, more of a scorer. Jason Tatum, more of a scorer. Malcolm Brogdon, more of a scorer. Like, so just lean into it. Like, that's what you have to do. And then when they start collapsing their defense, that's when you start kicking it out. That's when you get the wide open look. I don't understand. And like that again comes on Joe Mazzulla. That comes on the coaching. Why
Yeah.
he didn't lean into that strategy is beyond me. Like I get it, threes and layups, but when you're shooting, I think they started the game like what, like 2 of 18 from three,
Yeah, it
one
was
of
bad.
18 from three. Like I don't know, stop taking threes. I know you need to come back,
And
but guess what? Two and a stop. That's still 2 points.
it was a coaching masterclass because, you look at that game 6 and it was so close and things were happening, and everyone wants to talk about the zone defense that the Heat ran, and let's be honest, they ran, I think, 25% of their possessions in game 7 with the zone defense. And you talk about needing to attack, well, it just wasn't capable. They didn't have it, right? And Joe Mazzulla is supposed to be the answer for that. And maybe he wanted to just let Tatum cook, and when an ankle rolls, that just isn't possible with the strategy. And one thing leads to another. You have to adapt. You have to be able to make moments. It's why we rip on guys like Budenholzer all the time, because if you don't adapt, you lose. And the Celtics fumbling year over year is a combination of so many different things. But if you want things to work out and happen, the right guys have to step up at the right time. A what Caleb Martin is doing for Miami in this moment, right? And Boston just seemingly doesn't have that coming together. And whether that is Tatum having that ankle and that being the complete answer to why they faltered alone in game 7, like, they just need more.
Look,
That's the unfortunate
Look,
bit.
man, during Jason Tatum's 7 years in the league, they have been a Final Four team 5 of those years.
Oh yeah.
People are not telling us to blow up the Joel Embiid situation and saying that he actually is a second option. No, he can still be a number one option to a lot of people on a championship winning team. He's never been out of the second round, man.
Hmm.
Like again, it's just a forced media narrative and discussion that doesn't need to be taking place. And like that's just kind of the world that we live in, unfortunately, man, with the 24/7 media, with everybody having access to everything.
Yep.
Um, I just I don't think that you can not keep two top 15 players for the next 7 years. Like at worst, because Jaylen Brown's going to be 27 this coming year.
Yeah.
So you've got at least 8 more years until he's 34. And that's when you kind of maybe start to decline physically.
Yeah.
Like you've got 8 years of two of the top 15 players already in the NBA who could be taking steps forward. Come on,
I
like
mean,
use your brain here, guys. Like any Celtics fan that wants to trade him and doesn't want to give him the max, like you're falling into a trap, man.
and
You're falling into a huge trap.
this is your comment about, the Golden State Warriors affecting things. Like, teams are looking for the dynasty team. They're not looking for the good playoff team they can get. But as you've mentioned, how many times has Boston been in a conference final, in a final? Let's assume they won all of those. Are they not a dynasty at this point? But they were just this far away from being that close, right? That's the situation. And so many people are going to look at the negatives rather than the fact that these kids have been able to achieve so much.
Dude, who's to say that there's ever going to be another dynasty again? The way that the CBA is structured, the
Right?
way that the parity has hit the league the best it's ever been since like the 1980s. This is the first 8 seed to ever make the finals. Is that not telling us something about the way that the NBA is changing? People are slow moving to adapt to these things, right? But I think that at the end of the day, I don't know if there's going to be a dynastic run. You're not gonna. The only reason the Warriors were a dynasty is because they added Kevin Durant in the
Yeah.
middle of it, right? So at the end of the day, I don't think that a team is going to have that option and that ability. So I don't think that you're going to be able to do something like that. I just truly don't. Now I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a team that goes on a huge run. Maybe it's the Denver Nuggets. in their team. But at the end of the day, what happens when teams do win is those guys end up getting paid. Like, Richard Jefferson on the broadcast talking about Caleb Martin gonna get paid. Too bad he already got paid. But like Gabe
Mm-hmm.
Vincent and Max Strus, those guys are like making under $2 million a
Yeah.
year. They're gonna start to make some money. So I don't know. Is Miami going to be able to keep everybody? Is it going to be like returned? Are these guys going to go to different clubs? Are they going to be overpaid and then thrust into bigger roles that they're not ready for? And that's like that's just the way of the
Yeah.
beast, and that's the way of the business. So I don't know, man.
Anybody listening to Matt right now and feeling stressed, you now know why Bob Myers has stepped down for the Golden State Warriors, because he knows what it takes to build a championship, and he's thinking to himself, man, I'm going to
Can't do
step
it again.
down. I'm going to get out while everything's good. You know what? Thinking about the money that team owes, the changes, we're going to go over here and hang. And whether or not that's the actual truth, that's the fact of the matter of the current NBA, man. It's a wild time right now.
Bro, he doesn't want to be the one to tell Draymond he's not getting paid, or Clay that he's not getting paid. Like, he doesn't want to do that.
Yep.
He won championships with these guys. He's like, okay, bye.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about the NBA Finals, because they're gonna be starting, just around the corner here. The
5 minutes here,
Nuggets,
man.
the Nuggets have
I'm
been
excited.
waiting a week or so. Nicola's probably watched like 100 horse races at this point. Jamal Murray maybe went to Canada and back for a mini vacation. Like, this team is chilling. They're ready to go. Aaron Gordon was looking fire walking into the arena today. Like, can anything stop this Nuggets squad, Matt? I think that's the conversation right now.
Look, man, I don't want to sit here and disrespect the Miami Heat.
Nope.
I think they've been underestimated in every series that they have been in, and that has fed into their team narrative. It's fed into Jimmy Butler. It is their aura at this point, and they've
Yeah.
proven by defeating the Milwaukee Bucks, by defeating the Knicks, by defeating Boston, that they are a very good NBA team. The thing about the Denver Nuggets is that I went on that whole rant about no dynasties, and I think that they could be a dynasty. Like, that's just what it is. Nikola Jokic is proving that he is
Yeah.
a Giannis level player.
Yep.
And Jamal Murray is showing you, like, I don't know if you would want, 15 other guys in the NBA playoffs over him, right? Like, this guy elevates. That it's that Canadian in him, when the pressure gets tough, that's when we buckle in and that's when we show up. And this man
Yes,
is
sir.
like, he's playing otherworldly. Aaron Gordon, who like was the man. I heard a really good comp to like an Andre Iguodala type situation. Like, when you're the man, you're not like a great team, but when you're the third
Third.
or like the
Yeah, yeah.
fourth, like, you are a stud. And MPJ, like Bruce Brown, like, this team is deep, man. KCP's a champion. He knows how to get there. He's
Oh
watched
yeah.
LeBron do it.
He
So,
got paid after, putting in those shots. Like,
uh, thank
the,
you for underscoring the point.
like, honestly, man, this Nuggets roster is ready to come out of the gates firing and put in some work. But yeah, man, like I said when we were talking about Boston, like, I can't count Spoelstra out just yet. I can't bet against this Miami team and what they've achieved. Like, you just can't count them out. It would be so wrong to do it.
The one thing that you could think about is like their like shooting streak in the season for like the first 70-ish games was so poor, and
Yeah.
they've really turned it on over the last 20, like the last 12 of the regular season, and then now in the playoffs. If that does run out, what does happen to them? Their defense has been good, but the Lakers had the number one defense in the playoffs, and it got absolutely obliterated by Nikola
Destroyed.
Jokic. And Eric Spoelstra over a first-year head coach that wasn't even supposed to be the head coach, that they gave an interim tag to, and then because they have a great team and were doing well during the season, felt obligated to give him the coaching title. Plus, he's the GM's
Yep.
mentee. Like, that coaching drastic difference isn't going to be the same with Mike Malone. Now I know, Mike Malone's never been here before, and Mike Malone isn't, as recognized of a coach as Eric Spoelstra. But who's to say that this man's experience doesn't shine through? And this guy doesn't, come to the table with the proper strategies and the
Yeah.
and the right ability. And everybody's watching now, and that's what he wanted. He wanted the attention on them. And so I don't think that they'll have that huge advantage. It's going to be so hard for them to run the zone that suffocated the Celtics. They're not going to be really able to play straight up defense on Nikola Jokic with Bam Adebayo. Sorry if Anthony Davis couldn't do anything. You're probably not going to be able to do anything. So
Right.
it's going to be a lot of double teaming his way, and like that's probably your best option. But who's better at getting the ball out of a double team than Nikola Jokic? LeBron James, and that's it.
Yeah.
Really?
It's
Like,
it's definitely the best coach, the best team, the best star. It really is the ultimate test, right, for Jimmy and this team and Spoelstra. Honestly, Spoelstra has done so well so far, but everything's just getting tighter. Everything's closing in, right? Like this is the NBA Finals. It's going to be a real big test for this team, and man, I have hope. I have hope. I want to see more games. I want to see good basketball. I want to have, the world that's tuning in getting to enjoy this. I want to have Jimmy and Miami story continue, but also like as a Nuggets fan, as a fan of this team and what they've been trying to accomplish, the fact that Malone is, potentially one of the best like post-game presser coaches out there for the things that he says, and hearing the convos that they're having in the locker room, in their huddles, the way that, he really can put the fire under them, and the way that Nikola is the absolute most humble human being apparently on the planet when it comes to everything. Like both of these teams have a great story. On one side, you have this team that
yeah,
seems almost ready for it, right? It's primed. It's the Nuggets' time. They're healthy. They're ready to go. They've beaten everyone to get to it. And then on the other side, you have this incredible underdog story of a comeback. Like this is just a win for everybody right now. And I'm hoping that we can get good, solid NBA basketball at the top level and hopefully balanced out to be that, icing on the top of this great playoff season that we've had.
yeah. And the thing also I think that kind of helps both teams is that Denver feels disrespected.
Yep.
They've been the top seed in the Western Conference from start to finish, and nobody talks about them. Um, and Miami Heat have come from almost losing two play-in games to the NBA Finals, and what a run it's been.
Yeah.
But the thing is in the media, there are some prominent figures that are picking the Miami Heat and giving them their flowers and saying that they're going to win in 7, 6, and that is, going to help feed the Denver Nuggets narrative.
Yep.
It's, this idea that there are steps to winning a championship. I totally agree with. And, because Miami's been here before and lost to LeBron James, because they've been knocking on the door with 3 out of 4 conference finals. Um, Denver's been to 2 conference finals in the last 4 years. The other 2 seasons, they just didn't have their players.
Yeah.
And Nikola Jokic has proven that not only is he one of the best basketball players in the league, but he's an MVP, a two-time MVP. He could be historically great with this.
Hmm.
And I don't know about you, but the last time a dynasty showed up on stage, they just kind of showed up. Nobody expected the Warriors to get there, and
Disrespect. Yeah.
when they won that championship, everyone was kind of shocked. And then they went on to win 73 games the next year. So could Denver come through? Absolutely. Do I think Jimmy might be able to steal like a couple games? Maybe. I just I don't know. Personally, man, if I'm gonna give you my take,
Yeah.
I gotta go with the Nuggets in 4.
Yeah.
Um, the Nuggets just have it, and honestly, like I kind of feel like I'm gonna curse them with my take, but
Look,
like it's my fibers, man, like to the core. I feel it. Like, just
Jimmy
Nuggets, man.
Jimmy walked
Nuggies,
into the
nuggies,
game.
nuggies.
Jimmy walked into the game today with, stairways, and it said 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, and then there, the top one hadn't been filled yet. Jimmy, There is no 4-4. It goes to 0-4. That's what's next in the way that the cycle would transition back. So, like, kind of scary, and maybe he's the one who's messing with the basketball gods here. But when it comes to my prediction, that's not going to stop him from having a good game. Jimmy's going for 35 plus tonight because he's going to need it, man. The team helped him out at the end of this series to make it happen, but Jimmy's got to show up and be that dog if this team wants to avoid that 4-0 prediction from you.
And honestly, man, I think like the way that Jimmy didn't really show up in that conference final series. I understand that, he really did show up in the Milwaukee series. He got them through the Knicks series heroically
Yeah,
on that ankle. He wasn't amazing. Did he have a 40 plus game in that series?
I don't believe
No.
so. Yeah,
Did he have a 30 plus game in that series? I don't think he did, man.
he might have had a 30
Um,
game, but he definitely didn't have like a 35 or
game
anything
game
higher.
one, 35.
Oh,
35.
okay. That's how
Okay.
long
But
ago
he
it
also
was.
dropped a 16 and a 14 as
Yeah.
well. He cannot have those kinds of games.
Mm-mm.
He's got to be 35 plus a game minimum for them to have a chance. And as great as he is, and as much as he rises to the occasion, that is asking a heck of a lot of one guy for
Yep.
4 games in a series against a team with arguably the better player.
It's why that both of us here on this pod are Team Nuggies. I'm not ready to call how many games, but I'm definitely on Team Nuggies. Hopefully this time next week we'll be coming back to talk about some good basketball and a great series. But I think we've got to turn our way now, Matt. It's basketball time.
Buddy, I mean, it could be a close 4-0 sweep, but yeah, you're right. The game should be starting any minute now. I'm sure they're on the court getting warmed up. Um, hey man, I'm excited for it. I know you're excited for it. You gonna make your prediction or what?
All right, best season, best playoffs. No, but Jimmy's gonna have 35 tonight. They're going to lose. Sorry, Miami. You're not going to be able to beat the Nuggies. Yo, they're in the mile high, dude. It's like 5,000 meters up in the sky. That's, I mean, Chuck was joking. There's no rafters up here. I mean, there's no banners up here, but this could be the start of it.
Hey man, I mean like what about the humidity in Miami? You don't think that that's gonna help?
Didn't Spo joke about how we'll just turn the AC off in? Like, oh man, what a dig towards the Spurs, right?
Yeah, man. Anyways.
Dude,
All right, Kevin.
thanks,
I think
everybody.
you're
All
good.
right. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook on the Board Sports. Like, subscribe. Nobody wants to listen to me. Get out of here. Go watch the NBA Finals. All right. We'll talk to you next time.
We'll talk to you next time.